The next cycle began with a low rumble through the Seraph ship. Daniel opened his eyes to see the walls glowing a faint red instead of their usual soft white. Red meant danger. He sat up quickly. Kyrene was already standing near the main console, her tendrils shifting rapidly as she tapped several glowing nodes at once. "What's happening?" Daniel asked, moving closer. Kyrene's tablet voice translated. "Wormhole. Unstable. Collapse within 2 cycles." Daniel's heart raced. 2 cycles. That was barely any time. "Show me the readings," he said. Kyrene gestured to the main display. The wormhole's image flickered violently like a giant whirlpool tearing itself apart. Streams of energy shot out at random angles, crashing against invisible walls. Daniel studied it, his mind turning over every possibility. He could see the weak points in the pressure zones. He could almost hear the wormhole groaning. "We need a stabilizer array," he said at last. "A device that holds the edges together long enough for your conduits to take over. I can build one, but it will need human-style improvisation." Kyrene paused. "Risk high," her tablet said. "But we trust," Daniel nodded. "If we don't try, we lose everything." Planning the device for the next hour, Daniel drew rough diagrams on a Seraph panel, using simple lines and circles. Kyrene watched carefully, her eyes narrowing with concentration. He explained each piece slowly, using gestures and the few translated words the tablet could manage. "Here, magnetic anchors. Here, energy funnels. Here, feedback dampers." Kyrene tapped a section of the panel, adding her own symbols. "We supply bioenergy core." "Ship grows parts fast," the tablet translated. Daniel's eyebrows rose. "You can grow parts?" Kyrene nodded. "Ship, alive." "We guide," Daniel smiled. "Then we're halfway there." They worked side by side. Daniel guided the technical layout. Kyrene guided the ship's living materials to shape themselves into the components they needed. Strange biometal vines emerged from the walls, curling into spirals, forming coils and connectors. The ship's hum deepened as it diverted energy to the new growth. During a pause, Daniel rubbed his forehead. "We'll have to install this right at the wormhole edge," he said. "That's a dangerous place." Kyrene's tendrils fluttered. "We then go together," the tablet said. Daniel hesitated. "It's risky." "I should go alone." Kyrene's eyes flashed. "No, together." He saw the determination in her gaze and knew arguing was useless. Besides, he didn't want to leave her behind either. They were a team now. Preparing for the mission, by the next cycle, the stabilizer device was ready. It looked like a glowing crown of twisting spires pulsing with a soft blue light. Daniel inspected it carefully. "Looks stable," he murmured. Kyrene handed him a thin layer of alien material. The tablet translated, "Suit, protect from energy field." Daniel slipped it on. It clung to his skin like warm water but hardened into a flexible armor. Kyrene wore one too, her tendrils tucked under a smooth helmet-like shell. They moved to the ship's airlock. The walls shifted open like petals, revealing a chamber filled with shimmering mist. Beyond it lay the stars, and far ahead, the pulsing mouth of the wormhole. Daniel swallowed hard. "Ready?" Kyrene touched his arm lightly. "Ready," the tablet said. Out into the void the chamber opened, and they floated out together. The wormhole filled their view, a swirling mass of light and shadow. Its edges crackled with bursts of energy, sending ripples across space like waves on a black ocean. Daniel had seen spacewalks before, but nothing like this. It was alive, dangerous and beautiful all at once. He guided the stabilizer device with a handheld control, while Kyrene used her own bio-interface to sync with it. The device floated ahead of them, its spires extending like the wings of some great insect. "Position it here," Daniel said, pointing to a coordinate. "Right on the pressure node." Kyrene nodded, her tendrils twitching under her suit. Together they maneuvered the device into place. Energy from the wormhole slammed into it, but the stabilizer held, glowing brighter as it absorbed the shock. Trouble strikes. Suddenly, a massive pulse erupted from the wormhole, knocking Daniel and Kyrene apart. Daniel spun through space, his tether stretching taut. "Kyrene!" he shouted. Okay." The tablet's voice crackled through his helmet. She had grabbed a stabilizing rail but was struggling to hold on. Daniel pulled himself back toward the device. He saw one of the spires bending under the pressure, its glow flickering. "It's overloading," he muttered. "We need to lock it down manually." He reached for the spire, fingers trembling in the suit gloves. Kyrene floated next to him, her own hands on another spire. Together, the tablet said. On his signal, they both pressed their hands to the stabilizer's core. Daniel activated his feedback dampers while Kyrene sent a surge of bioenergy through the spire. The device shuddered, then stabilized, its glow returning. Daniel let out a long breath. That was close. Kyrene's tablet voice said softly, "Brave. Human." Holding the line with the stabilizer in place, Daniel guided Kyrene through the next steps. "We'll feed the energy into your ship's conduits," he said. "That will buy us enough time to reinforce the wormhole edges." Kyrene nodded. "Ship ready," the tablet said. They activated the link. Streams of blue light flowed from the stabilizer back to the ship, creating a web of energy across the wormhole's surface. Daniel watched the readings on his suit's small display. The wormhole was still unstable but no longer collapsing. They were holding it together, but the strain was incredible. Daniel could feel the vibrations through his suit like standing near a roaring waterfall. His helmet display flickered as the energy surged around them. Kyrene's tablet voice said urgently, "Core overload soon. Must adjust frequency." Daniel's eyes darted across the readings. "Okay, follow my lead." The final adjustment, they worked quickly, adjusting the stabilizer's frequency by tiny increments. Daniel remembered his training with electrical systems back on Earth, how small changes could prevent catastrophic failures. He called out each step, and Kyrene mirrored him perfectly. As they tuned the frequency, the wormhole's violent ripples smoothed. Its light shifted from chaotic white to a calm gold. The stabilizer glowed steadily now, its spires aligned with the wormhole's edges like fingers holding a tear closed. Daniel let out a shaky laugh. "We did it." Kyrene's tablet voice was soft. "We, together." But there was one last surge. Daniel's display warned of a power spike in the feedback dampers. "The dampers are failing," he said. "If they go, the whole stabilizer might explode." Kyrene's eyes widened. "What do?" Daniel took a breath. "I'll go to the core and reroute it manually." Kyrene's tablet voice rose sharply. "Danger. You, not safe." He looked at her. "We don't have a choice." She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Together," the tablet said again. Into the core they floated to the heart of the stabilizer device, where energy streams crisscrossed like glowing rivers. Daniel found the dampers, their coils glowing red-hot. He reached into the panel, his suit shielding him from most of the energy, and pulled a connector free. Kyrene guided a biocable into place, linking it to the ship's energy core. The device roared, then settled. The red glow faded to blue. The dampers held. Daniel sagged against the panel, panting. "It's done," he said. Kyrene's tablet voice said softly, "Human. Saved us." Daniel smiled. "No. We saved us." Returning to the ship, they drifted back toward the ship, leaving the stabilizer glowing like a beacon at the edge of the wormhole. The ship opened its petals to receive them, the mist curling around their suits as they entered. Once inside, the organic walls closed, and the ship's hum deepened into a steady, calm rhythm. Daniel removed his helmet, gasping in the fresh air. Kyrene did the same, her tendrils lifting as if in relief. The tablet translated her soft hum. "Safe. For now." Daniel nodded. "We did it. The wormhole's stable, at least long enough for your people to build permanent reinforcements." Kyrene looked at him for a long moment. "You, human." "Essential," the tablet said. "More than essential, you, one of us." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. "Thank you." A quiet victory later, they stood together at the main console, watching the wormhole on the display. Its golden light pulsed slowly like a sleeping giant. Daniel could see small Seraph ships moving near it, beginning construction on long-term stabilizers. Kyrene's tablet voice said quietly, "You changed us. You show new way. Quick thinking, trust, together." Daniel smiled faintly. "You changed me too." For the first time since waking up on the alien ship, Daniel felt no fear, no confusion, only purpose. The claiming ritual that had begun as a cultural misunderstanding had become a true partnership. He and Kyrene had saved an entire civilization, standing side by side in the void. He thought of Earth, of home, and wondered if anyone there would ever believe his story. But it didn't matter. What mattered was here, now, with Kyrene and the Seraph people who had welcomed him. Looking ahead as the cycle ended, Kyrene gestured to a new set of plans on the console. The tablet translated joint research. Human and Seraph, together, Daniel's eyes lit up. You mean a permanent program? Kyrene nodded. Yes, learn from each other, share. Daniel reached out, touching the panel. I'd like that. They stood together, watching the wormhole's golden glow. It was still dangerous, still vast, but now it was also a bridge, a link between two civilizations, built on trust, courage, and the simple fact that two very different beings had chosen to work together. The ship moved through the calm void after the intense cycle of the wormhole stabilization. Daniel stood at the main observation deck, watching the golden vortex swirl safely in the distance. The rush of fear and adrenaline had faded, leaving a quiet satisfaction in its place. He had survived, adapted, and helped Kyrene save countless lives. Yet deep inside he knew their work was only beginning. Kyrene approached, her tendrils swaying softly. She did not speak at first, only stood beside him, observing the wormhole. Finally, the tablet translated her thoughts. You understand, we stronger because of you. Daniel turned to her, a faint smile on his face. And I understand more than I ever expected. About your people, your ship, and even about myself. Kyrene tilted her head, curious. The tablet translated, learned, human, adapt, survive, risk, help, valuable. Daniel chuckled softly. You make me sound like a hero. You, hero, the tablet repeated. Kyrene's dark eyes seemed almost amused. Daniel shook his head. No, just someone who didn't give up. That's all. Planning for the future with the wormhole stable, the Seralith elders began sending more ships through, carrying materials for permanent reinforcements. Daniel and Kyrene worked side by side, supervising the installation and sharing strategies. He realized how much their cooperation had changed them both. Humans were inventive, sometimes chaotic, and excellent at quick problem-solving. Seralith were careful, methodical, and deeply intuitive about energy systems. Together they had bridged that gap. Daniel noticed how Kyrene studied him. Not just his actions, but his thinking. She would mimic his gestures, ask questions, and try to understand his decisions. The tablet translated some of her thoughts. Human creativity. Unpredictable. Useful. Must preserve. Must learn. Daniel realized that this was no longer a temporary partnership. It had become a cultural exchange, a mutual teaching opportunity. He smiled faintly. I've always wanted to make a real difference. Now I have. Unexpected recognition. One cycle later, a group of elders arrived. Their tall forms and flowing tendrils gave an air of authority. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. He had been worried the elders might consider him an intruder or a risk. Kyrene spoke first. The tablet translated her words. Elder Council. Human essential. Saved wormhole. Learned our ways, contributed. The elders observed Daniel closely. One of them, taller than the others, tilted his head and hummed a low note. The tablet translated, human. Different, but effective. No threat, valuable. Daniel exhaled quietly, relief washing over him. He had expected skepticism, but instead he found respect. The elders conferred among themselves, and finally the leader spoke. Human, part of this mission, recognized, trusted. Kyrene's tablet added, claim, reinforced, human, no longer outsider. Daniel nodded, humbled. Thank you. Learning and teaching in the weeks that followed, Daniel immersed himself in Seralith science. He learned how their living ships could grow parts, regulate energy, and even respond to intuition. He recorded methods in human notation, creating diagrams and instructions that could later be shared with both species. At the same time, he taught the Seralith ways of improvisation and quick problem-solving. Small challenges like minor energy fluctuations or rapid adjustments to the wormhole stabilizers became exercises in trust and ingenuity. Kyrene often observed him with a mix of curiosity and admiration, trying to mimic his human-style thinking. One evening, while reviewing energy diagrams, Daniel said quietly, I never thought I'd teach an alien scientist, or learn this much myself. Kyrene's dark eyes softened. Learned together, the tablet translated. Mutual benefit all, Daniel smiled. Yes, mutual. Personal bonds, though the mission had been intense, Daniel and Kyrene found moments of calm. They walked the corridors of the living ship, watched distant stars, and shared quiet discussions about life, culture, and even humor. Daniel began to understand the subtle rhythms of her society, how they valued balance, patience, and observation. Kyrene began to appreciate human creativity, intuition, and the sometimes messy but effective way humans approach challenges. Daniel realized the claiming ritual, which had seemed so strange at first, had created not a cage but a bond. They were responsible for each other, yes, but they had also become true partners, capable of facing any challenge together. One night, Daniel said softly, "Kyrene, thank you for trusting me, for letting me help, and for letting me stay." Kyrene's tablet translated, "Trust earned. Respect mutual, you." "Welcome here," Daniel smiled. For the first time in weeks, he felt at home. Not on Earth, not on his old ship, but here among aliens in a living vessel, bonded by respect, courage, and shared experience. Final test. Even with the wormhole temporarily stable, small anomalies continued. One cycle, sensors detected an unexpected surge near the edges. Daniel and Kyrene rushed to the control chamber. The wormhole flickered violently. Daniel examined the readings. "We need to reinforce the stabilizers and redirect the energy flows immediately," he said. Kyrene nodded. "We act together?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "We've done it before. We can do it again." Working quickly, they adjusted conduits, recalibrated feedback loops, and guided the living stabilizers into place. The wormhole's edges steadied, glowing golden once more. Daniel allowed himself a quiet laugh. "Not perfect, but stable." Kyrene's tablet translated softly, "Stable, human courage, invaluable." Daniel looked at her, the first smile of genuine pride in weeks on his face. "We make a good team." Kyrene's tendrils twitched in what seemed almost like amusement. "Good team," the tablet echoed. Recognition beyond the mission. When the elders returned to inspect the wormhole, they found Daniel and Kyrene working side by side. The tablet translated their observations. Human. Contributes. Vital. Learned. Adapted. Trust-proven. Mission secured. The leader of the elders stepped forward, placing a hand on Kyrene's shoulder. The tablet translated his words to Daniel. Human. Honored among Seralith. Not just guest, partner, essential to survival. Daniel felt a rush of warmth. He had started as a lost engineer, claimed unexpectedly by an alien girl, and now he had become indispensable, respected, trusted, and bonded with a species far beyond anything he had imagined. Looking to the stars days later, with the wormhole fully reinforced, Daniel and Kyrene stood at the observation deck once more. Ships traveled safely through the golden vortex, carrying materials, supplies, and Seralith engineers to secure long-term stability. Kyrene placed a hand on the console, her tendrils resting lightly against the surface. "Human, you changed future," the tablet said. Daniel nodded. "We changed it." Together, Kyrene's dark eyes met his. "Together. Stronger." Daniel smiled. "Yes, stronger." The ship pulsed softly as if agreeing. Outside, the stars stretched infinitely, and the wormhole shimmered like a bridge between worlds. Daniel knew he had crossed a boundary too, not just in space, but in understanding, trust, and partnership. Humans could adapt. Humans could survive. Humans could thrive, even among aliens and cosmic forces far beyond their experience. And Kyrene, the alien girl who had claimed him, had become more than a guide or a protector. She was a partner, a friend, and a symbol of what could be achieved when two very different beings worked together toward a common goal. Daniel looked out into the stars, feeling hope, purpose, and connection. He had come far from waking up alone on an alien ship, confused and frightened. Now he was part of something extraordinary. He had saved a wormhole, earned the respect of an alien species, and discovered the power of human ingenuity, all while forming a bond that would last far longer than any cosmic storm. The universe was vast, mysterious, and sometimes dangerous. But Daniel Hale, claimed by an alien girl and tested by the stars, had proven that courage, trust, and collaboration could bridge any gap, human or alien, near or far, and with Kyrene at his side, he knew they could face anything the cosmos had in store. Daniel Hale was not the kind of man who believed in strange accidents. He liked systems, schedules, and safety checks. He worked as an engineer on the Andromeda skies, a large human mining vessel that drifted through deep space like a floating city. Every day was the same. Repair machines, monitor energy lines, eat in the galley, sleep in his small cabin. But that day was different. That day he decided to take a nap. The ship's lower decks were quiet at mid-shift. Most of the crew were on duty. Daniel had been helping install a new energy relay near the clean room. His jumpsuit was covered in grease and metal dust. He hated sleeping in dirty clothes, so he had taken them off, planning to wash them later. A soft hum came from a nearby maintenance capsule. Its interior looked warm and comfortable like a padded pod. Daniel thought it was just a storage unit for tools. Tired, he climbed inside, thinking he would rest for only a few minutes. He did not notice the alien writing glowing faintly on the capsule's edge. Inside the capsule, it was cool and dark. The walls gave off a soft green light that reminded him of Earth forests. Daniel lay down, closed his eyes, and let his mind drift. The hum of the ship became a lullaby. Without his clothes, his skin felt the cool fabric more sharply, and he shivered once, then relaxed. "Just a short nap," he whispered. The pod, however, was not a storage unit. It was an experimental stasis chamber secretly carried on board as part of an exchange program between humans and the Serolith, a distant alien race. The chamber had been mislabeled during transport. It was designed to teleport biological samples safely between ships for study. Daniel's biometric signature triggered its emergency protocol: protect and transfer to the nearest Serolith ship. As he slept, the pod closed softly around him, sealing with a hiss. A pale blue field wrapped his body. He never felt the shift as space bent and folded. He woke up to silence. At first he thought he was still dreaming. The air was warm but smelled different, like wet stone and citrus fruit. When he opened his eyes, the ceiling above him glowed with living light. The walls were no longer metal but soft, pulsing like the inside of a seashell. Daniel sat up quickly. The pod had opened. He was on a raised platform inside a wide, round room. Strange organic shapes curved overhead. No sign of the mining ship. No sound of engines he knew. Where? His voice trembled. He reached for his jumpsuit, but it was gone. His bare skin caught the warm glow of the room. Embarrassment flashed through him, but stronger was fear. This was not Andromeda skies. This was somewhere else entirely. Across the room, something moved. A figure stepped from behind a tall, vine-like pillar. It was slender, with smooth silver-blue skin and large, dark eyes that reflected the light. Thin tendrils framed its head where hair would be. It wore a flowing garment like liquid crystal. Daniel's breath caught. He had seen holograms of the Serolith during training, but never in person. This one was clearly female by her softer features and delicate movements. The alien tilted her head, studying him. In her hands she held a small glowing tablet. She spoke, but her words were a string of liquid sounds, clicks and hums. Daniel shook his head, unable to understand. She tried again, slower. The sound was gentle, like rain on glass. I don't know what you're saying," Daniel whispered. He raised his hands, palms open, hoping to show he meant no harm. His heart raced. He remembered training. Stay calm, don't act aggressive, use gestures. The alien blinked slowly. She touched the tablet. A thin beam of light scanned Daniel from head to toe. A soft chime echoed. Then she spoke again, this time a single word. "Bonded." Daniel frowned. "What?" "Bonded," she repeated, her voice careful as if testing the sound. Her eyes flicked between him and the pod he had climbed out of. She seemed both surprised and pleased. She pointed at the pod, then at herself, then at him. Daniel looked back at the pod. The glowing alien writing pulsed brighter now, almost like a heartbeat. He rubbed his face. "This is a mistake," he muttered. "I'm not supposed to be here." The alien, Kyrene, though he did not know her name yet, stepped closer. She was taller than he expected, graceful and thin. She extended a three-fingered hand. Daniel hesitated, then slowly extended his own. Their fingers touched lightly. Her skin felt cool and smooth like polished stone. She tilted her head again as if memorizing his reaction. A doorway opened behind her with a soft sigh. Another Serolith entered, older and with a deep green cloak. They exchanged a rapid series of sounds. The older one looked at Daniel, then at Kyrene, then left without a word, the doorway closing again. Daniel caught only one word repeated several times. Claimed. Daniel sat back down on the edge of the platform. He needed to think. Clearly he had been transported, teleported maybe, right onto an alien ship. He had no clothes, no communicator, no idea how to get home, and these aliens thought he was bonded or claimed. What did that mean? A prisoner, a guest? A research subject? Kyrene crouched beside him, her eyes soft. She tapped the tablet again, and a small hologram appeared between them. Two figures, one Seraph and one humanoid, standing side by side under an arch. A line connected them, glowing. She pointed at herself, then at him again. "I didn't choose this," Daniel said quietly, but the alien's expression was unreadable. She seemed neither hostile nor angry, more like someone suddenly given responsibility she hadn't expected. Slowly, Kyrene offered him a long strip of shimmering cloth. Daniel realized she was giving him something to cover himself. He took it with a muttered thanks and wrapped it around his waist like a towel. The fabric clung lightly but gave warmth. Small kindness, but it helped. The room around them pulsed with life. Transparent panels in the walls showed stars outside, not the same starfield he knew from the mining ship. The ship moved silently. No engine rumble, just the soft sound of air. He noticed patterns etched into the floor, spirals and dots like a language of geometry. Kyrene gestured for him to stand. She led him across the chamber to a tall arch that opened like petals when they approached. Beyond was a corridor lined with glowing veins. The air smelled faintly of flowers. Other Seraph glanced at him, whispered sounds he could not understand. Some bowed slightly. Others stared in open curiosity. Daniel felt like an animal in a zoo, but he also felt something else. A strange pull, like destiny had dragged him into a story he didn't sign up for. He had studied the Seraph in reports, admired their technology, wondered how they lived. Now he was here barefoot, wrapped in alien cloth, standing next to one of them. He remembered Earth myths about people being chosen by gods or spirits. Was this so different? Kyrene led him to a smaller room, more private, with a low seating platform and a window to the stars. She gestured for him to sit. Then she sat opposite him, folding her long limbs neatly. She set the tablet between them. A holographic alphabet appeared, symbols rotating slowly. She pointed to herself. "Kyrene." She pointed at him, waiting. "Daniel," he said, tapping his chest. She repeated it carefully. Yeah, Daniel." He smiled despite himself. "Good enough." She smiled too, or at least her mouth curved slightly, a Seraph version of a smile. She tapped the hologram again. A simple translation grid appeared, his words on one side, hers on the other. The ship's AI was learning. Communication would take time, but it was possible. Daniel leaned back. He was scared, yes, but also curious. The Seraph were not acting hostile. They were treating him almost like an honored guest, or someone under a sacred obligation. He wondered what claimed meant in their language. Adopted, protected? He could work with that if it meant he wasn't in danger. Outside the window, a blue nebula glowed, its tendrils wrapping the stars. He had never seen this region before. They were far from human space. He might never get home, unless he understood these aliens, their technology, and their laws. Kyrene tapped her tablet again. A new hologram appeared, a map of their ship, a living structure shaped like a shell. She pointed to his current location, then to a section labeled in alien script. She mimed sleeping. Then she pointed to herself and the same spot, miming sleeping again. Daniel realized she was showing him his new quarters, or rather that he would be sharing hers. His face flushed, but he said nothing. He understood now. The stasis pod had been hers, and by emerging from it, he had triggered a ritual. He belonged to her, at least in some symbolic way. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Okay," he said softly. "Let's figure this out." Kyrene tilted her head, her dark eyes steady, and for the first time Daniel felt a strange calm. He was far from home, but maybe, just maybe, he wasn't alone. The ship's corridor was alive with soft light as Daniel followed Kyrene. Each wall curved upward like a rib cage, glowing veins pulsing faintly under the surface. The floor had no seams, only a smooth texture that changed color as they walked. Daniel felt as if he was walking inside a giant living creature. His bare feet pressed the warm surface, the alien cloth wrapped around his waist like a strange robe. Kyrene moved ahead with calm grace. Every few steps she glanced back at him, her dark eyes catching the starlight from the windows. She seemed both curious and cautious, like someone guiding a wild bird into a new cage. Daniel wondered how she saw him. As a guest, a problem, or a discovery. They arrived at a round chamber filled with soft chairs shaped like petals. In the center stood a covered in symbols. A faint hum vibrated in. The next morning, Daniel awoke to soft amber light filtering through the living walls of the ship. The gentle hum of the vessel was almost musical, a constant pulse that reminded him he was far from Earth. He stretched, feeling the alien cloth conform to his body, and noticed Kyrene sitting quietly on the platform, her large dark eyes watching him. "Good morning," he said, a little hesitantly. Kyrene responded with a small melodic sound which the tablet translated. "Morning. Ready to learn?" Daniel nodded. "I guess I have no choice." They began another session with the translation tablet. Kyrene guided him through basic Seralith vocabulary, pointing to objects and mimicking sounds. Daniel tried to do the same, teaching her simple English phrases. Slowly, the tablet's hologram improved, showing more accurate translations. Daniel was impressed. The Seralith were not just highly intelligent, they had patience that rivaled any teacher he had ever met. After a while, Daniel noticed that Kyrene was not just teaching him words. She was showing him her ship's systems, explaining simple functions in her language and letting the tablet translate. He learned how the vessel regulated energy, controlled its bioorganic wings, and filtered air and water. It was fascinating, unlike anything he had seen on human ships. Then he saw it. The problem. One of the displays on her tablet showed the wormhole they had observed the night before. Its edges were flickering irregularly, streams of energy bending at strange angles. "Kyrene," Daniel said, pointing at the hologram. "That wormhole, it's collapsing faster than you realized." Kyrene tilted her head and the tablet translated. "Yes, we fear closure. Resources blocked. Homeworld affected." Daniel's mind raced. On Earth, he had repaired collapsing circuits, stabilizing failing energy grids under pressure. Could similar principles work here? He swallowed hard. "Maybe I can help," he said. Kyrene's tendrils quivered slightly. The tablet interpreted it as, "You help?" "Yes, I don't know your systems fully, but—" "I can try." He paused. "You need someone who can think differently. Humans improvise." Kyrene studied him for a long moment. Then the tablet translated her words. "You, different, risk, valuable." She looked at him, eyes wide. "I accept help." For the first time, Daniel felt a surge of purpose. He had been scared, confused, and lost. Now he had a role, and perhaps a chance to make a real difference. Kyrene led him to the control chamber. It was larger than the sleeping area, with a curved display stretching around the walls. The room's floor pulsed with light as energy flowed beneath it. Panels shimmered and the air smelled faintly of ozone. Daniel marveled at the organic integration of the ship's systems. Every part of the vessel seemed alive. "Sit," Kyrene gestured. "Help learn." Daniel sat, taking a deep breath. He studied the screens. Streams of data flowed like glowing rivers across the walls. He recognized some energy patterns, though they were far more complex than human systems. He began tracing pathways with his finger, pointing out redundancies in areas where a small adjustment could stabilize flow. Kyrene watched closely, her head tilted, her eyes bright. She mimicked his gestures, repeating the adjustments on her console. The tablet translated, "You see solutions." "Not we," Daniel smiled faintly. "Humans have a way of doing that. It was not easy." The Seralith had their own methods, intricate and elegant. Human improvisation often clashed with their precise protocols. At first, Kyrene hesitated to execute his suggestions, but after a minor test sequence proved successful, she nodded firmly, a silent vote of trust. Hours passed. Daniel worked, taught, and learned. Kyrene was patient, repeating processes slowly, mimicking human logic as best as she could. The two of them became a team, a strange cross-species partnership built on trust, curiosity, and necessity. By midday, Daniel realized something important. The wormhole could be stabilized temporarily, but only if he could combine human improvisation with Seralith technology. They would need to act quickly, or the energy streams would collapse entirely. During a break, Kyrene showed Daniel more of her culture. The chamber transformed with soft shifting panels, showing holographic images of Seralith history. They were a peaceful species, highly ritualistic, valuing balance and harmony above all else. Their society had thrived for thousands of years, and yet they faced a problem no tradition could solve: the failing wormhole. Daniel marveled at their art, their devotion to knowledge, and their communal way of life. He realized humans had one thing they excelled at in such situations: improvisation, quick adaptation, and lateral thinking. He could use that to help not just for survival but to earn their respect. "You learn," Kyrene said, pointing to him, then herself. The tablet translated. "You teach too, important." Daniel nodded. "I'll try." It was more than just technical work. Every interaction taught him something about patience, observation, and cooperation. Kyrene had instincts, intuition, and a memory for patterns he could barely comprehend. His human perspective, however, brought solutions they had never imagined. Together they were stronger. Later, Daniel was called to an observation deck. The wormhole flickered like a storm on a screen of energy. He could see the swirling vortex bending space and light, threads of energy snapping in irregular pulses. He traced the flows with his hands, imagining ways to reroute them using existing Serolith energy conduits. "Kyrene," he said, pointing. "If you redirect energy here and here, it might stabilize the flow for longer. It's like pressure balancing in pipes, only cosmic." Kyrene's tendrils twitched. The tablet translated, "You suggest?" "Modification. Human solution. Untested." She glanced at the glowing streams. "We try?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, but carefully. We need small tests first." They began a series of adjustments, small pulses of energy rerouted along alternative paths. Daniel explained each step in slow, clear English, pointing at the panels. Kyrene repeated, tapping her controls in precise mimicry. Gradually, the wormhole's flickers lessened. Energy streams aligned better. Daniel exhaled. "It's working." "For now." Kyrene's eyes gleamed. The tablet translated, "Human. Clever risk. Reward trust. You." Daniel felt a warmth he hadn't expected. It wasn't just professional satisfaction. It was the recognition that he belonged here, even if temporarily. That aliens could value human ingenuity. That humans could make a difference in worlds far beyond their own. That evening, Daniel returned to the sleeping chamber, mentally exhausted but energized by success. Kyrene was already there, sitting cross-legged on the platform. She gestured to him, the tablet translating, "Rest. Prepare for tomorrow. Learn more." Daniel nodded and lay down. He stared at the shifting ceiling, the stars above moving slowly in the distance. He thought about his home, his ship, and the ordinary life he had once taken for granted. Nothing would ever be ordinary again. Kyrene watched him for a moment, then whispered in her melodic language. The tablet translated, "You survive. You adapt. Human, strong." Daniel smiled faintly. "Strong, huh? I'm just trying to stay alive." Kyrene tilted her head. "More than survive. You think, solve, teach, help, unusual." Daniel felt a strange pride. Unusual, yes. That was exactly what humans were meant to be. Adaptable, inventive, willing to face unknowns and find solutions. He wasn't alone, and he wasn't helpless. He closed his eyes and let sleep take him, feeling the soft rhythm of the ship beneath him. Tomorrow would be harder, and the wormhole would demand more ingenuity. But for now he rested, claimed by an alien culture, challenged by cosmic forces and empowered by the realization that humans could shine even in worlds far beyond their own. The next morning, Daniel awoke to a gentle vibration running through the ship. The light inside the chamber shifted from soft amber to a bright white glow, signaling the start of the day. He rubbed his eyes and stretched, feeling the alien cloth move smoothly against his skin. Kyrene was already at her console, her dark eyes scanning streams of information that danced across the living walls. "Good morning," Daniel said. Kyrene made a soft hum, and the tablet translated morning. "Urgent today," Daniel frowned. "Urgent?" Kyrene gestured toward the main display showing the wormhole. Streams of energy twisted like glowing rivers, pulsing faster than the previous day. "Collapse. Sooner," the tablet said. Daniel sat down, his mind already racing. He had learned a lot about Serolith systems, but this was far beyond anything he had seen, and yet he could see solutions forming in his mind. Energy patterns, redundancies, flow paths. It was a complex problem, but not unsolvable. He pointed at the display. If you adjust these conduits here and reroute this energy flow, it could hold the wormhole longer. But we'll need real-time tests to be sure. Kyrene's tendrils twitched. The tablet translated, "Human solution. Risky, unpredictable, Daniel nodded. All solutions are risky until tested, but it might work better than what you have. For a long moment, Kyrene studied him. Then she tapped the console. Try. We trust human. The word trust sent a strange thrill through Daniel. He had been terrified when he first woke up on the ship. Now this alien scientist, one of her people's most promising young engineers, had placed her confidence in him. They began the process of implementing the adjustments. Daniel explained each step carefully, pointing to specific conduits and energy streams. Kyrene followed, mimicking his gestures, tapping her controls precisely. The tablet translated their words and actions for the ship's AI.